So I'm supposed to be writing a manuscript and cleaning my apartment, but this is the Upsetting Podcast, so who the hell cares? You can call me Soup. Now, this podcast appeared in the void, and when I stole it from the void was quite upset with me, so we only have a little bit. But that's perfect if you're on a short commute, if you're procrastinating. Personally, I am procrastinating. I also just like to hear myself talk, so let's talk about some stuff. Exactly what? I'm not so sure. We could talk about anything from philosophy to technology to what I had for dinner the night before to what I'm having for dinner this night, tonight. There's some things I'm probably not going to talk about on the show, although I am open to changing, and if I ever choose to change in the future, you can't be upset with me. I've given you warning. Alright. Those things might include, politics, religion, just stuff that I'm not super comfortable speaking to, especially not speaking to you about, because a lot of this stuff is your own personal journey that you're walking on, and I don't want to either get in the way or take you down a path you are not comfortable with. So, for now, let's just steer clear of it. I'm not really sure why I decided to start an audio-only thing. Well, actually, I do know a little bit. In the past, I'd done something similar where I'd play a video game and then I'd talk over it. And what ended up happening is I'd just get very distracted. And so I'd never quite be on topic for more than 2 or 3 minutes at most before I'd get completely sidetracked and then entirely forget. So there was never a cohesive theme in what I was speaking about, and most of it was separated by multiple minutes of completely ignoring that I was speaking to anyone at all and just focusing on playing a video game. Turns out speaking and multitasking, or just multitasking in general, don't quite go hand in hand with the way that my psyche is built up. I'm much better at small, short bursts of nonsense, and then getting right back into whatever the hell I was doing before. I'm sure there's other reasons for that, but, Now, if you notice any sounds or anything happening around me, like here, I'm sure you can maybe hear the faint whining of machinery. That is because life happens whether or not I want it to, and things do need to happen around me in order for my life to function. Having very, very limited time on my own, it's kind of imperative that I double up on activities. So currently I'm working on things in the background that are automated, and maybe I'll talk about that in the future. Now, this is just a pilot episode, a first episode, so that I can figure out the workflow, like how does Adobe Audition actually work, because I'm looking at it the side and it's nonsense, and how do I put stuff on Spotify? I've never done that before. And what are people going to enjoy on YouTube? Do they want this in the sub feed, or do they not? Is this going to... how do the numbers work out? So this episode, I've not really put together a topic at all. In fact, I've just got a list of notes up here, and we've already covered them all. Basically, what the show is and how are things going to work. And the answer is it's going to be loose. It's going to be loose. We might hit the end of the notes and then go a little bit further if we need to. Like today. So I'm thinking, actually, this is a good time. I've already talked about it in a live stream, but to just talk about the intro that I made. So I went out and I bought a camera a few weeks ago. Actually, close to a month ago. It was in February. Middle of February, and then I sat on the camera for a little bit. Not physically, just metaphorically sitting on it. Figuring out how the cameras actually function. Turns out modern Canon cameras are very, very user-friendly. Basically just point and shoot, and then anything you want to do after that can be done in color correction, which I have notes about. It's color correction turns out not as simple as it appears. Something between Adobe and YouTube makes it look different than you expect. But yeah, I made some soup. I set up the camera. I actually tested the recipe of the soup out on a live stream. Of course, I wasn't showing it because I don't show my face anywhere, but if you want to hear the frantic ramblings of a man who is simultaneously playing a rage game while trying to manage soup not but 10 feet away from him, That one's fun. And actually, some part of that you probably didn't see was I spent a while turning ping pong balls into eyes. Uh, that was just done with some Sharpie marker and ping pong balls. So, fairly simple. And then I realized, ping pong balls evenly weighted. So if you want to drop them into a liquid, and if you haven't seen the intro, you should go watch it. If I remember, I'm going to put it in the show notes. Ping pong balls are evenly weighted, and so when you drop them into a liquid, they don't stare back up out of the liquid at you. They just turn over. And it's Sharpie, and the Sharpie paint markers do kind of wipe off. Unfortunately, they're not permanently marking as they advertise in the package. So what I did was I just glued dimes to these ping pong balls, and it worked perfectly. You drop them in the water, they stay there, and it looked pretty okay. The only thing I'm still unhappy about with that is the color grading. It ended up being way, way darker in the final version, and I don't know why. The Adobe Premiere output looks fantastic, and then it looks fine in Media Player on Windows, and then you get it up into YouTube, and it just looks kind of dim, kind of dark, sad and drab. So I might go back through and regrade that in the future once I figure out what's actually going on. I'm a little bit worried that if I make it brighter, it's not actually going to work. There's got to be some underlying tech issue with the way that YouTube post-processes its video. That's something that you don't really think about when you're making videos. You set up everything on your end to do everything correctly, but I suppose people who know what they're doing probably do, but as an amateur, some small person just starting out, although it's been a year, I can't keep having these issues. You never expect it to be like your endpoint, the final step in the chain, the final link in the chain to be the weakest one, or the one that's going to give you the most headache. But so far, that's kind of what I've found is the weak link. I can kind of overcome everything that's not on YouTube's end. Like, mixing and everything sounds fine, and then you get it out on YouTube, and it's just, they've compressed the shit out of everything. It looks, the darks look grainy. Oh, man, just a lot to contend to with that space. Unfortunately, not everything is under our control. Unless I design a website with very, very high quality video hosting, which sounds expensive. It sounds very expensive and time consuming. Although in the future, I do plan to make a website featuring my cat, who, if you've ever followed me, or if you followed me this long on the internet, you'll know that I have not shown a photo of either myself or the cat. And as a reward for hitting 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, I do plan to develop and release a website of only photos of my cat. I figured that'll be exciting for the masses to see. I think it'll harken back to the days when the internet wasn't used for berating people you don't like online, and rather used for sharing funny videos of your cat with fishing line tied to its arms playing a piano. I'm still not quite sure how they did that. I'm not sure if there was like a person puppeteering the cat from above, or if they were like holding its shoulders. Either way, it did not seem very comfortable for the cat, if I'm being completely honest. Very funny video, though. So that was the Upsetting podcast. We've only got 5 seconds left before I have to leave, and the video's just going to cut off. It's